Hi there, I'm Robert Hooker. I'm the blogger behind Share to Point, where I talk about collaboration in social media. And I'm doing this series of videos on the literature of the internet. This is for total social media. Today I'm going to talk about two writers, because I think they basically give almost, well, you could say bipolar approaches to how to think about the internet, how to think about what the internet is doing to us as a group. The first one I'm going to approach it's a classic. I'm sure many of you have heard about this. Ray Kurzweil's The Singularity is Near. Okay? Now, Ray talks about all of technology, not just about the internet. But this is probably the book where most of your people who are, maybe you could call them internet utopians, who believe that the high technology and internet is rapidly moving humanity to a totally different state of being, which we'll be able to live in ideal virtual worlds or with perfect robot bodies for thousands and thousands of years. And Ray seems to really believe this. The singularity is the point at which a computer, it'd be a computer that becomes so vastly more intelligent than humanity that what would take hundreds of years of trial and error and human effort is just happening faster than we could notice that. The ideal of a singularity culture is if you were a human being, a singularity culture, every time you turned your head around, you would see what would be to 100 or 1,000 years of progress happening. The ideal is that human potential is going up and up, that technology is completely driving this. Kurzweil's main ideal is that science and technology is in the driving seat, that it is changing and revolutionizing the way we live, and that it is rapidly moving us faster and faster and faster. And I guess if I was to talk about the singularity, I would look at something like, well, the first evidence of writing begins at about 2000 BC, 3000 BC, and it isn't until, let's say, you get the Roman times where you get our form of writing with vowels and nouns. It takes about 2,000 years for writing to evolve, and writing on paper to evolve later. Then about 500 years ago, you get the printing press evolve. And, it's a few hundred years before the printing press, and people have books everywhere and paper book. Then during the 20th century, at the beginning of the 20th century, you have the telephone. It takes about 50 years for the telephone to to take off everywhere. The World Wide Web is developed in the early 90s, and by the 20s, everybody has the World Wide Web. And then all of a sudden, you're looking at things like smartphones, that these take-up of these new technologies is becoming shorter and shorter and shorter. And whereas, when I was a kid, I worked with computers as a teenager, and it wasn't until I was in my mid-20s did most people I know, where they started to use mid to late 20s, where most people I know had computers. I got onto the internet in my mid-20s, early 20s actually, and by the time I was 30, everybody I knew was on the internet. And now I got my first smartphone about 5 years ago. I was really cutting edge on that. I was like the only person in my office who had one, and now they're everywhere, and everyone has them. So that's the kind of point he's making. So it's a way of looking at technology and the internet that puts technology completely in the driver's seat. Technology is constantly innovating faster and faster, and it's forming our culture, and it's a way of looking at the internet that totally puts technology in the center. And a lot of the people who believe this, they call themselves internet utopians or cyber utopians. They think this is really for a good thing. The world is going to become better, freer. They believe the internet is going to make people more democratic. Another point of view of people that we have, we call these people what we call technical determinists. And one of the writers, I think, who comes from this other end is Matthew O'Neill with his book Cyber Chiefs. The Cyber Chiefs is taking a very, very different view of this. Cyber Chiefs is a very recent book. He looks at things like Wikipedia, he looks at Debian.org, daily costs, and what he's doing is he's looking at the way communities develop on the internet. But he's constantly looking not at how the technology is its driver's seat, even though he grants that the technology makes certain things possible. I mean, Wikipedia wouldn't be possible without the World Wide Web. But the thing that O'Neill is constantly referencing is sociologists. He often references Weber or Durkheim or other social theorists who came before the internet was even around. And most of the theorists, sociologists he talked about in this, never knew about the internet. What he's interested in is how society, how the kind of society we live forms the internet, and how we can understand how we have to look at the internet as a kind of social politics, a place where a particular kind of human social politics is taking place. In this example, he breaks the internet down to certain types of sites and to certain types of authority that rule over those sites. He very much looks at the work of Weber from over 100 years ago. Okay, so this is somebody who, when he sees the internet, he sees just another space where human beings carry out their social activities. Definitely a very different place, a very transformed place, but people on the internet remain fundamentally people. And social theory and social research that was done before the internet was created is still as valid now for O'Neill as it was before. For him, he doesn't see the technology as changing human beings. He sees the technology as giving human beings a new place to be human. Whereas Kurzweil, in his very big book, he basically makes it clear that the internet, we will come out of the other side of the internet as something other than humans. That this is actually changing us beyond our biology. And there's also a lot of different writers who are in the beginning. Like, for example, Donna Haraway is a writer, kind of interesting mix between this person. This is she's a very strong Marxist, but also very knowledgeable about biological and evolutionary theory. In this book, Simians, Cyborgs, and Women, particularly the article in it of the Cyborg Manifesto, she does look at the possibility of the merging of human and technology to create definitions of gender or sexuality that go beyond the power limits of male and female. So she embraces technology almost to the level of Kurzweil does, but she also has O'Neill's knowledge of sociology and views technology as a sociological place. So basically, if you were to position these three books in a kind of creative array, and I guess everybody should have good graphs. You've got on one side here, and you've got here, and then you have her in the center here. These are three very good books to go together if you want to get a percent. I know the Kurzweil book is a bit dense. You probably don't have to read all of it, but he does provide a lot of nice graphs in it about how humans, everything is just getting better and better and better and better and better all the time thanks to technology. Once again, I'm Robert Hooker, and good luck to you.